Want more NASCAR content? For all the latest in NASCAR, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-in shows, and awesome giveaways, tune in to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site with new shows every Tuesday night. Check out Lap Traffic on the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and follow on Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday night coverage of the Full Send Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Tonight, it's the last race of the round of 12, as we're in the middle of the playoffs. Last week, got to see incredible racing at Las Vegas, where Ken Campbell locked himself in. But tonight, it is time for us to race at Indy for that of the Johnny 125 at the Brickyard. Gonna be a great race for these drivers here tonight. Can't wait to give you all the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, this certainly should be an interesting one as we're at the Indy road course.
Yeah, not at the oval tonight. We're at the road course and a relatively new scan of the road course too. A little bit of an update from when NASCAR was there a couple of seasons ago. So came in and did the update. And Sam, a road course that a lot of these drivers probably don't have that many laps around.
No, this is going to be a brand new place for a lot of these drivers, as this track has had plenty of different revamps. The most recent Indianapolis scan that was given out to these drivers just in the past year or so has been brought up. I mean, it has changed a lot for these drivers. This course slightly different from others that they've ran in the past, but this is a more traditional NASCAR road course that the drivers are going to be handling this evening for 51 laps. But let's take a look at what the playoff standings are looking like for these drivers. Touched on it, winner of last week is going to be Ken Campbell topping the board, but then all the drivers below that of the 15 close on points. But the thing is, we start with 12 and only 8 get to move on to the next round.
Yeah, you look at the playoff standings. I mean, you look down there at the bottom, it's really close there at that cutoff line. At there, Christopher Wade +3, Jonathan Woods +2, and then you go Kyle Carpenter, John Dart, respectively -2, -3. I mean, that race for that cutoff line, Sam, could be really interesting here tonight, just based off of practice speeds and what we saw. Could see a little bit of a shakeup down there at the bottom end, and plus, who might get a win here and lock themselves into that next round.
Especially with the speed that we've seen from Jonathan Woods from practice, he honestly could bump up. Jonathan Woods is looking in danger. Christopher Wade as well. John Dart as well as Kyle Carpenter. Gonna find a little bit of magic again. Where the 2 is on screen, everyone above the 2 is inside of our top 8. Everyone below the 2 is outside of the top 8 in points. You can point your way in, win to automatically lock yourself into those standings. But some big points that can be grabbed to allow these drivers to move up and down in the middle of this race. Stage points, biggest bonus points that can be grabbed, and you got to be inside the top 10 to grab them.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to see a lot of excitement here in these first 10 laps, especially from the guys, that are a little bit further on down in the points with Nick Holland, Jonathan Casebeer. John Dart looks pretty quick, so I think he'll be pretty safe to get some good stage points. But those guys that are further on back, Sam, we might see them trying to make some big moves, and there's a couple of heavy braking zones around this racetrack that could allow them to gain a couple of positions early on in this race.
Excited for it as drivers currently underway with qualifying. To see the 3, that's going to be Ryan Lynch trying to get himself rolling here this evening. But qualifying for these drivers, they've just hit the halfway marker on time. The drivers were given 10 minutes to get all their qualifying laps in. They're given 2 laps to put down their best lap for themselves. But for these drivers right now, they're all chasing one driver who's been quick since the start of this week, who's been putting in some practice here and there, making sure that he can keep his road course ace driving skills. That's the 32 of Zach Hall, who currently has a 1 minute 31.6 lap time. That's top of the board currently.
Yeah, Zach was fastest in practice and was really quick when we were at Watkins Glen for the road course race during the regular season. And just made a couple of mistakes, lost that race to Cole Sacchetti. And Cole Sacchetti not far off of the time that Zach Hall set with a 131.66. And then John Dart, who's looked really quick in practice, also with a really good lap of a 131.7. So our top three all within about 1/10 of each other.
Cole Sacchetti, the driver that decided to back out from racing, that is really giving a chance for Kyle Carpenter to race for the championship. Kyle Carpenter, again, outside looking in, gonna need some big points if he's gonna move on to the next round, as these drivers getting their last couple laps in. Right now we're looking at the 18 of Austin Call, who was on his last lap going through turns 10, coming around turn 11, the wide sweeping corners before he comes to this technical area, the last 3 corners of this race.
Yeah, back up here into the short chute between turns 1 and 2, and then going to cut it back down here into the infield. And you got to be careful when you're qualifying at road courses. You can't get those off-track penalties, otherwise your lap will be invalid, as it makes that hard left-hander here before making the last right back onto the front straightaway. Pretty tidy, though, I got to say, Sam, through this last little bit for the 18 of Austin Calls. A little bit of a wiggle there as he gets onto the throttle, but nevertheless down the front straightaway to complete his last lap here.
Austin Call, slowest driver based off that first lap. Second lap comes across the line, and it does count. The 18 moves up to 9th place on the board. And that is going to be one of the last drivers out there on track. Now, there is a strategy being used that I'm seeing already, Trevor, of drivers during qualifying. There's 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in qualifying. But some of these drivers that are out qualifying, they put 1 lap in, then decide to teleport back to pit road to get fresh tires for another go at this. Interesting strategy by some of these drivers, because I've seen some, just by putting in the wear and tear, that second lap seems to be slightly faster at moments.
That's a really interesting observation there. I wouldn't have thought about that as Cameron's starting on board with him as he caught a little bit of the grass. I think this lap might be invalid with him having a little bit of an off track, but interesting call there to come down pit road, get those fresh tires if you felt like your first lap wasn't that good. Typically, we see a lot of road racing in the next gen car where tire wear is not a thing, but in the trucks around road courses, tire wear is really important, and so that might not be a bad strategy call. Clips the grass again and goes around, and this lap is not going to count for that 24 machine.
And with that, could be the last attempts for these drivers. 24, there's 1 minute and 45 seconds to go, and it's going to take about 1 minute and 45 to get around this track just to get the first lap going, or even the next lap for himself. So qualifying looks to be done and dusted. And as we have this time, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors here at that of the Full Send Racing Series, that of Lap Traffic Podcast, that have been some of the best sponsors that we could ask for. They've been sponsoring some of the races, as well as one of the title sponsors here for the Full Send Racing Series, as well as that of ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. And the last sponsor, Next Level Racing. Get your starting rig started at Next Level Racing. Big thank you to everyone that's joining with us. If you've missed qualifying and practice, well, we are in the final race of the round of 12. It's the cutoff race, 8 drivers. As you see, the 12 that are marked in blue on our ticker board, those are the 12 drivers that are trying to make their way into our Elite 8. One driver's already automatically locked in. That's Ken Campbell after his win last week at Las Vegas. But thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday night. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart, Robert Moore, your junior running productions in the background. Trevor, any final thoughts before we get these drivers gridded up and ready to get racing for 51 laps?
Watch turn 1. Heavy braking zone. It's a long run up to turn 1. Could see some chaos and calamity down there, and it could affect some of our playoff drivers. So that's going to be interesting, and we're going to have to do it twice, Sam. So once on the start, and then after the stage break at lap 10. That's going to be the point of interest. And I think for a lot of these guys, all about survival tonight. Keep the truck on the track, keep it in one piece, and see where you can come out of this.
Seems like a solid strategy to go for, as drivers have just gotten themselves cleared with qualifying. They've gotten last words from race control, and it is time for the drivers to start gridding up for tonight's adventure at the Indianapolis road course for the Johnny Unitas 125 here at the Brickyard. As the drivers are prepared, they're going to be starting at the back, in the middle of the track, but pole award, give it to Zach Hall, who looks to be one of the main drivers to watch out for the playoffs. He is the most points coming into tonight, with Cole Sacchetti in second, John Dart third, Cameron Sarton, two-time champ, going to be in fourth, with Travis Dart in fifth. Ken Campbell, winner from Las Vegas, starts in sixth place. Ross Tatum, seventh. Eighth going to be given to Chris Stitz. Austin Call, ninth. And 10th, give it to Andrew Medlin.
Well, Bustler will roll off in 11th, Kyle Carpenter in 12th, Philip Chavez in 13th, Christopher Wade in 14th, Jonathan Woods will start in 15th position with Ryan Lynch in 16th, Jonathan Casepier in 17th, Nick Holland 18th, and Charles Hugel and Sam Siegel will round out our 20 drivers here tonight.
As these drivers get ready for a 14-corner course on who will have the survival. A lot of drivers, like we were saying, turn one's going to be a tricky spot, but these first couple of laps going to be so crucial, mainly because our first 10 laps, that is going to be our first stage of this race where you can get those bonus points for the top 10 drivers. 10th gets 10 bonus points, 9th gets, second gets 9 bonus points, third gets that of 8, and it continues to trickle down until we get to 10th place where you only get 1 bonus point, but that could be just enough with how close these drivers are points-wise coming into the night. This is going to be a wild one for sure. The drivers sit in turn 7. I mean, Trevor, we talk about turn 1 being a tricky spot. I'm also looking at the track layout and some of the places where other drivers can make passes. I think also turn 7 could be a great spot to make some passes for themselves. But based off what we saw from qualifying, those curbs might be the trickiest part of the track besides other drivers.
Yeah, you look at the chicane through 5 and 6, the infamous chicane that came up during the Cup race. That's a really good spot to, if you can carry a lot of speed down that straightaway into, I believe that is turn 7. You can get a pass done there, but you got to be careful getting those curbs and getting yourself, out of shape and making a mistake there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how these drivers attack this track here.
Track that is very more so built for Indy cars and endurance cars that have a lot more downforce. How will these triangle boxes just work with one another? These trucks, not the most comfortable things to drive on a road course. We know some of these drivers have the speed, others it's just survive. We'll touch on where the drivers are on track points-wise, but very easy to tell who is in the playoffs. 1, based off our ticker board, and 2, you can see all the blue and the banners, the splitters, and also the spoilers. Those are the drivers that are in the playoffs. A wide range of blue out there because we got 20 drivers on track, and 12 of the 20 are playoff contenders. As the drivers wait for the pace car to make the hard turn into pit road, it's time for us to get racing here tonight. The Porsche goes heading to pit road. It's now in the hands of Zach Hall, Cole Sacchetti. It's ready for 51 laps. Stage break at the end of lap 10. No fast repairs. 4 sets of tires in pit road. And the Johnny Unitas 125 at the Brickyard about to be underway. The round of 12 about to be concluded as they hit the front stretch into the restart zone. And we are prepared to go green flag racing here tonight at the Brickyard. The Indy Road Course is green, heading down into turn number 1.
That's a good start there from Cole Sacchetti in that second position. He might have the jump here on Zach Hall, but Zach's going to have that preferred line going into turn number 1 as everybody tries to get it loaded up. Looks good from our top 5. Looks good from everybody behind them. Almost a little bit of 3 wide. Zach Hall's going to get the lead. Sacchetti's going to file out in second with that of Cameron Sarton in third. And then it's going to be the battle between John Dart and King Campbell for that 4th position. As Dart lost a couple of spots, but looks like he might be able to hold off the 15 for now.
Everyone's trying to keep their P's and Q's, get in line, work as one. Don't want to just throw away your race here on lap 1 and just in the first couple of corners through the fast chicane of 5 and 6. Under the bridge they go as they head roaring into turn number 7. A very hard braking zone these drivers head towards. And here it is. Zach Hall going to be trying to stay off the curb. But how many drivers can stay off of that curbing? Because it is a very much a spot where you kind of are tempted to hit the curb as the drivers go through the S's, hitting turn 10 and around the long sweeping right-hander of turn 11.
Yeah, you want it. It's tempting to take the curb, but we saw what happened when Cameron Sarton was qualifying. Took a little bit too much to turn the curb and upset the truck, and so definitely want to be weary of that. And another spot right here, this hard right-hander, you can take a little bit of curb, but I think it's going to be the same thing. Might upset that truck a little bit too much as everybody single filed out now and just trying to follow one another right here. Nick Holland trying to find a way around that of Jonathan Woods. it's going to be a battle all the way back here.
Oh, Woods is going to hold on, gets loose off the exit of the corner as they go through turn 4. A great save by the 2, and lap 1 is in the books. Zach Hall leads the way as he already in 1 lap has over a second gap lead over second place. And Trevor, this was something that we kind of were concerned about while looking at the practice times. Zach at one moment was a full half a second faster than everyone else, and in 1 lap he's already got a second over second place. This has got to be concerning just in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising to see Zach with that kind of lead. I mean, the speed that he showed, at Watkins Glen, the question is, I mean, he was quick there at the beginning, but as the run progressed, everybody was kind of able to run him back down. So we'll have to see if that's going to be the case here. But definitely looks like Zach put it in the practice here tonight to make sure that he gets that free pass into the next round and doesn't have to worry about points.
Does not want to worry about points. It was Cole Sacchetti who runs in second currently, that won back at Watkins Glen. Zach finished second, and those drivers kept it very close and neat and tidy with one another. The question is, who can run down the 32? And Trevor, we look back to last week at Las Vegas. Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, teammates for Freaky Fast Racing, basically, as well as Andrew Medlin, it was that trio group worked as one unison to finish 1, 2, 3 last week. Here tonight, it's a lot more of on your own type racing. And I got to say, for Ken Campbell, he's got to be feeling very lucky on the fact that he won last week, and the driver that finished behind him is now leading the way.
Yeah, doesn't have to really worry about anything. Can just kind of go out here, run his own race here tonight. Not have to worry about points, or if he makes a mistake and goes out, doesn't have to worry about that. And then probably feels good for him to see his teammate up there, kind of just pulling away. I mean, pulling away here a little bit from everybody else. Got to feel good for that team with the success they've had all season long.
And as this 32 comes into tonight with the most wins, hoping to continue on his winning ways throughout this season. But it's been a talking point, Trevor, that you've brought up since the last time Zach Hall went to victory lane a few weeks ago at that of Darlington. The fact that he was going to be in a tricky spot of, based off the amount of races that are left in the season, even based off the trends, he might not get to victory lane again. But been hearing from Zach, he wants to break that trend that you've been talking about.
Yeah, wasn't too happy with me bringing that trend up and talking about it, but hey, stats are stats, and that's what we do up here. But hey, road course racing, I wouldn't count him out. And I mean, 2-second gap already to Cole Sacchetti. I mean, this 32, Sam, barring a mistake, I think this might be just an easy win for him tonight.
And we already have some playoff implications that have struck. You can see it on our ticker into pit road. It's the 2 of Jonathan Woods, who automatically had to take a tow to pit road. Massive collision for himself, overcorrecting at the exit of turn 7. And the 2 machine, this could be a playoff ender, who came into this night as the cutoff driver. Well, someone that's outside looking in could be taking this spot. It's the 99 of John Dart that's in the prime position.
Yeah, Dart, out of all our drivers that were outside looking in, was the quickest out of everybody. Calvin Carpenter had a little bit of speed, but he's currently running in 10th position, just outside the top 10. John Dart comfortably within the top 5 as he's in 4th, not too far behind the 24 of Andrew Medlin, as he's kind of just held strong there, was able to pull away from the 15 of Ken Campbell, and is trying to keep touch with this with the 42 and the 24.
Keep touch, and other playoff implications that are going on right now, as Jonathan Woods was the cutoff driver, 8 points. 7th in points, Christopher Wade wasn't in a comfortable spot. He only had a 3-point advantage over Kyle Carpenter and only a 4-point advantage over John Dart. And Kyle Carpenter, just being 3 points off, currently is 4 positions above that of the 53. So if the drivers finish this race on where they're at right now, we can be seeing 2 drivers that were inside of our top 8 knocked out of the playoffs.
It very well could happen, and that's that's what makes this playoff format so exciting. Is you get to these kind of tracks that drivers aren't comfortable with, puts them in a tough situation, and with the points this close, anything's possible. Is I believe we're on board right now with the 99 of John Dart as he tries to catch up to the 24 there of Cameron Sarton in front of him. And I gotta say, Sam, he's looking really good here at the road course, and thinking back to Watkins Glen, I want to say he was running in the top 5 for most of that race as well.
That of John Dart. for in the Watkins Glen race that was ran here this season. He was running in 15th, finished 11th, but his fastest times just as fast as one of our top leaders. He was just about a half second off. So there is speed at road courses, but I would say, Trevor, Watkins Glen compared to that of the Indianapolis road course, they're similar dynamics, a lot more technical, I would say, in some of these corners than it was at the Glen.
Yeah, I think here in Indianapolis, a lot more technical. Watkins Glen, typically the speedway of the road course is really fast, really flowing track to get around, apart from that of the bus stop. But here, a lot more, technical corners, especially the second half of this racetrack. Once you get through the first part, you get through that chicane, then the back half of this track really kind of tightens up on you, becomes really technical, kind of like I would say the second half of Circuit of the Americas, kind of similar to that in terms of technicality wise, but nonetheless, another road course similar in length to that of Watkins Glen, but drivers handle it fairly well. A couple of issues. Nick Holland had a big slide a little bit ago along with Philip Chavez, but they keep it straight, and Christopher Wade not able to capitalize on those mistakes of the drivers in front of him.
Drivers even deeper in the field having some other mistakes, as the 3 machine of Ryan Lynch is going to be off course for the 3. He'll be back on course as Jonathan Casebeer, another one of our playoff drivers who made it into the playoffs because of a late win at Talladega that sadly we weren't able to broadcast. We do have the highlight if you want to go back and watch that Talladega race and the heroic pass the 8 machine had to do over Andrew Medlin and many of others that wrecked at a turn 4. And for Jonathan Casebeer, it's not looking good for his case to move on to the next round, but he is in a spot, at least you could say he made the playoffs, as the 3 behind him, those tires are warm as he's slipping and sliding. Here's another driver that's in concern. It's Christopher Wade in 53.
Yeah, Wade just back here running in that of 15th position. Just still hasn't been able to find a way around Philip Chavez, Nick Holland, and Holland, one of those drivers on the outside looking in, came in tonight 14 points out of the playoff picture, with Christopher Wade, only being those 3 points to the good. And same, I think he's going to have to get up there to that of 12th or so to keep up with Kyle Carpenter and mitigate the potential damage if Carpenter doesn't get by Austin Call, Medlin, and Tatum, who I believe he's right on the rear bumper of.
Yeah, one moment, Kyle Carpenter was about 2 seconds off of Austin Call and Andrew Medlin, but they have been slipping and sliding. Tire wear is already showing just 6 laps in. This 77 has closed in on the gap, and by that of Kyle Carpenter just grabbing a point here at our stage break, moving up to 10th. That's just 1 bonus point, but that takes away a position that he would have to make sure that he's ahead of that of Christopher Wade. And as well, it puts more pressure on Christopher Wade to run better as we get closer to the end of this stage, as drivers are being notified in the next 2 laps pit road will be closed. So if anyone wants to do a little bit of a jump over the rest of the field by coming into pit road early, they're gonna have to do so in either this lap or the next.
Be an interesting call, and we might see, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some guys like Nick Holland, Christopher Wade, Casebeer, pull that kind of pit strategy. They're not in a position to get stage points, but could get some track position. It could help them, in the second half of this race. But it'd be an interesting call to do so, as right here, Ross Tatum trying to hold off the 12 of Medlin, who's closing in. A little bit of slide there from the 18 of Austin Call, who might give up a position here to the 77 of Carpenter, and that would give Carpenter that 1 bonus point for getting 10th on the stage.
Kyle Carpenter wanting every single point, and as you see Andrew Medlin trying to get by that of Ross Tatum. Other drivers, though, having some great battles. Is all Moda pass there at the entry of 3 and going into turn 7, and just opening up the positioning was Andrew Medlin trying to get by Ross Tatum, able to do so, but it squeezes in this group of 4 as Austin Call trying to look for a spot to poke the nose, not able to do so as they stay in line. But this is when drivers got to set up the more technical area the last couple of corners of this race, when drivers have to hit their braking zones, and if you get a little bit wide, gives an opportunity as Ross Tatum closing in on this gap. But here's the group that's ahead of that last group we were talking about.
Yeah, that of Travis Dart, Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell, all kind of right here on top of, kind of closing in on one another. Not quite on top of one another like that other group was, but Stitz trying to close in on this 26 machine of Travis Dart, who's having a really good run for himself here at the road course as well.
It really is, as Chris Stitz just trying to have a good, decent run, a solid point stay from the stage will allow him to go for a good spot. And I'm watching the battling behind this group, though, as Kyle Carpenter has just made a fabulous swing move to get by 2 drivers, the 77 from 11th to 9th. And with these points, Kyle Carpenter would tie Christopher Wade in points if he's able to stay in this spot. But his goal is catch up to Andrew Medlin, because that would then give the advantage points-wise after the stage is done to Kyle Carpenter.
Yeah, he's in. I think he's in right now just based off of Jonathan Woods being out of the race with the damage that he has. So that would bump Carpenter past Woods, as there was only a 2-point gap between them. It's going to be, I think, between Christopher Wade and John Dart. And based on where John's running right now up there in 4th, I think Wade's going to be the other driver here tonight that isn't going to make it to the next round at Atlanta next week, just based off of running order and where these stage points are going to fall.
Yeah, I mean, if John Dart gets these bonus points, it will skyrocket him ahead of that of John Dart, keeping himself in front of Kyle Carpenter, Jonathan Woods, as well as Christopher Wade. And then for that of Kyle Carpenter, he'd be tied with Wade, with how these drivers are placed, as some drivers hitting pit road, as Jonathan K-Spear doing a drive-through penalty, it looks like, for the 8 machine, as he was not able to stop where he wanted to go. And the 8 continues to have struggles as he goes a lap down, as the rest of the field now in the 2 laps to go marker until the stage break comes out.
And Zach Hall just still in that comfortable position of the lead, opened it up now to almost 3 seconds, 2.8 seconds the gap between him, Cole Sacchetti. Not much has changed in our top 5. Sarton still in 3rd, John Dart still 4th, Ken Campbell in 5th. It's going to be that battle. As Will Bustler had a little bit of a spin down in turn 1. He's going to lose a couple of positions to Philip Chavez, Sam Siegel, and that of Christopher Wade. But the top 5, Sam, I got to say, once they've driven away from each other, or driven away from the rest of the field there, Ken Campbell's about 13 seconds back from that of Zach Hall, and only about a half a second in front of Travis Dart.
Yeah, and I was looking up the practice times. The top 4 were about a second to a second and a half faster than 5th on back. So our top 4 had a completely different zip code than the rest of the field. So I'm not surprised on the way that it's broken down on where these drivers are running. The question will loom once this stage yellow comes out. Everyone gets their stage points they're supposed to be grabbing. It's the question of how will this next restart show drivers on the aggression level? Are you going to be running aggressively to get track position, or do you stay patient on saving your tires? Because already drivers are really starting to show some struggle in the tire wear factor. And these drivers, as we're on the white flag of our stage, as at the end of this lap, these drivers will be having the yellow flag thrown. The top 10 drivers get bonus points, but they only have 4 extra sets of tires in pit road to work with here this evening. And the way that some of these drivers are slipping and sliding, they might have to use all 4 sets.
Yeah, it's going to be the pit strategy after the stage is going to be really interesting. At least one pit stop that we'll have to make once we get past our stage break. So how they choose to make that, when they choose to make that, I think is going to be very interesting for our leaders.
As the drivers are heading their way through the field, soon to be Christopher Wade is smoking. You saw the smoke pluming from the 53 machine as he came across the line. And Christopher Wade, engine is gone for himself. He had a big lockup at turn number 7 and got pile drove by the one of Will Bustler. And both of those drivers, heavy damage, but it's the 53 that gets the worst. Will Bustler also has required damage. Both will have to come into pit road.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was from getting hit by Will Bustler or if that was a missed shift into turn 1 that blew the engine for that of Christopher Wade. But both of those drivers with heavy damage, and that's not what you want to see from for the 53 of Wade. And there it is. Right there you see Wade spin and get hit by that of Bustler, and that'll do it for you right there, Sam. That's going to be engine damage, and that's going to be at least 20 or 30 minutes of required damage that the 53 is going to have to get fixed.
And Will Bustler as well, engine is terminated. He had to take a tow. He wasn't able to make it to pit road. Oh my goodness. As the stage yellow is out, and for that of Will Bustler, he only had a 13-point advantage over Kyle Carpenter, John Dart, Jonathan K. Spear, and Nick Holland. That is I mean, luckily the field is pretty small, and there's already been other drivers out of this race, but this could get very tricky with the way stage points are being divvied out.
It could, and that could put Bustler in a position that he might not make it. I mean, I think Nick Holland, 14
he
points
should
out,
be all
Case
right.
Spear 13. I think he should be okay just based off of Jonathan Woods is already out of the race. Ryan Lynch is 4 laps down. Bustler would be 18th. And Case Spear's a lap down. I mean, he should be safe unless that of Nick Holland and Case Spear recover and have an absolute mega run here at the end of the race and finish inside the top 5. I think he should be okay, but that's going to put a lot of stress on the driver of that one machine.
As the drivers are now under their yellow, we are going to step away. When we come back, we're going to try to have some more clarification on where drivers are running, what the points look like, as chaos decided to pop out for these drivers just when the stage was about to come out. We'll be right back after this, as we will come back for the rest of this race. We're at stage yellow. See you in just a few moments.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is Like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Full Send Racing Series playoff coverage of the last race of the round of 12 to see the 8 drivers that will move on and still have a chance for a championship. Tonight, you can watch the Johnny Unitas 125 here at the Brickyard. We got to give a shout out to some of the amazing sponsors here at the Full Send Racing Series. The Lap Traffic Podcast is a podcast you can go listen to now. Plenty of different episodes for you to listen to. If you're trying to just go through the day listening on your car, well, you'll listen to Lap Traffic Podcast. And as well, check out ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Instead of hearing the sounds, why not feel the sounds with your game or two from ButtKicker? And with getting your ButtKicker, might as well hook it up to something, and that's where you go to Next Level Racing for your Next Level Racing rig, where you can get yourself set up, prepared, have the most comfortable and best sim experience for yourself. So the drivers have gotten done with that of pit stops. Chaos has happened, and Trevor, some complications under pit road.
Yeah, Cole Sacchetti slid through his box. Zach Hall a little too far to the right, so our drivers that were 1-2 in the stage are going to restart 4th and I believe 8th respectively, and that could shake things up. But I don't think that Zach's going to have too much problems getting back through the field, but we'll see with Cameron Sargent being in clean air and John Dart being not that far off the pace. It could make things interesting for that 32 machine.
Hey, why not? Well, let's ask thou our stage winner is feeling about that pit stop as we could try to chime in. 32 machine, is Zach Hall, you there?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, you come away with the stage win. Pit stops didn't go the way you wanted, but man, how is this truck feeling on this track?
I feel really confident, man. I felt really good during that run. I was really pacing myself a lot, trying to like prepare for this run we're about to have here. So I felt really good, and yeah, it sucks we're a little too far to the right there, so I need to make sure I don't do that during green flag stops. But I think we got a good shot here to get back by these guys and just be nice and patient.
I mean, Zach, we saw some guys slipping and sliding out there. I mean, is it tire wear related, or is it just throttle response, trying to be a little bit too greedy on the throttle, you think, that's causing these things to look a little bit of a handful out there?
Well, I think it's the second one leads to the first one. The greediness on the throttle leads to that sliding around, and it gets tough. That left rear tire is very, very worn out after the end of the runs, and all these right-hand corners, you got to be really, really gentle on the gas. So that's kind of where I'm giving up some time, trying to make sure the right-handers are nice and easy, putting the power down, and then the left-handers, I'm kind of going for it. So that's the management game we're playing, but I'm pretty excited because I feel really, really good after that run about how consistent I was.
Well, Zach, what's your confidence level as we're about to get going on trying to win this race here tonight?
I'm pretty confident. The only thing that concerns is this restart, of course. Turn 1's a little scary with the restarts, but I wanted to have control of it here. But I think we'll be fine. I just got to be patient, like I said, and I have pretty good confidence I can get back by this group.
Well, we'll send you back to your team, and good luck on this restart.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that's Zach Call. I mean, Trevor sounds pretty confident in his abilities, but terrified. I think a lot of drivers are feeling that as we're about to get ourselves back to green flag racing here at Indy Road Course. The drivers got to run 10 laps and get the sense of what it's like. Well, now no more stage racing, no more bonus points to be grabbed there. It's all about finishing this race in the best position possible to move on to the Elite 8. As the drivers hit the front stretch, it's time for us to get back to green flag racing for the Johnny Unitas 125 here at the Brickyard as Cameron Sarn takes the green. John Dark coming to the outside as they charge down into turn number 1, trying to keep each other in line, but you don't want to outbrake yourself here as everyone slams on the brakes. The front nose dips down, and everyone looking solid as they go through turn 1.
Yeah, another really good execution through turn 1. Looks like everybody gets through really clean there. Zach Hall able to get around his teammate 15, Ken Campbell, so up to third for himself. Now he's going to try to run down John Dark, Cameron Sarton. And like you said, probably going to be patient here to get around those two as Campbell fights with Chris Stitz. But looks like he's able to hold that off as Travis Dart looks for a way around that 17 machine. But everybody now nose to tail, trying to set each other up when we get to these corners.
Trying to find your good pace, where your hands want to be as they go down into turn number 7 here. Setting up on another heartbreaking zone where drivers have overshot, made some big mistakes. As you look back from the driver, Chris Stitz, who almost went off course for the 17. You get to see the 26 of Travis Dart working together in the 26, trying to figure out how to pounce to attack for this position.
Yeah, just trying to show the nose a little bit, try to upset that 17, maybe throw off his braking zones just a little bit, see if he can get the nose to the inside. Wasn't quite able to do so. Had a little bit of a look down in turn 17, but couldn't get the drive off as they now head down here into that of turn 11 as they set up here to get back onto the road course. Still just trying to follow in line. Right behind them, Cole Sacchetti with a big dive to the inside of Andrew Medlin as he tries to take that position away. And those two are going to be side by side through the final couple of corners.
There's a lot of different passes going on. But Cole Sacchetti so far deep in the field. Again, did a similar thing that Zach Hall did. Was a little bit too far to the right. Reasoning why pit road, very different from what it's usually at the ovals. We're seeing another dive down low. Nick Holland, who has to be aggressive here, is the 68. If Nick Holland is going to make it to the next round and battle for a championship, he has to find a way to gain up over that of 14 plus points. But he's got to find a way as he's trying to make his way forward. We hop on board with the 12 and get a sense what Andrew Medlin's doing as we got the Medlin cam on screen.
Okay, Medlin focus as always is to go over the curbs. A little bit of a cut there on the exit of turn number 6 there through that chicane. Not sure if that's going to be a slowdown. Doesn't look like it's a slowdown for him, but really aggressive over that curb as they head down here into 7. He's got the 21 of Ross Tatum behind him. Nick Holland just got around him. Holland with a little bit of a lockup though. There's Medlin. You can just see sawing at that wheel out of every corner, trying to get the power down and keep that truck going in a straight line.
And with the cut corner aspect, the drivers have the ability to touch slightly over the curbing. That blue and white curb is kind of your border that you're working with. You can drive over the curbing, but you cannot go into the grass or past the curbing to the left or to its right. You have to stay inside of the white lines, and that's what a lot of these drivers are trying to do for themselves, as the penalties could be a yielding penalty, and that could cost you more time than simply just trying to slow down a little bit more into these corners, as Medlin focusing with the hands, really working it. In road course racing, Trevor, such a different talent than oval racing.
Yeah, you're working the wheel, you're working the shifter, the brakes, clutch. I mean, you're doing so much work every lap to try to get the best out of the vehicles up front here. The battle between that of Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell, the 26 of Travis Dart, Cole Sacchetti, they're all nose to tail with one another. But I mean, just so much work goes into every lap, and that's what makes, I think that's what makes road course racing so much fun, Sam, is how much work you have to put into each lap to get the max speed out of the vehicle.
Testing all the different ways, but behind the 26, Cole Sacchetti into the barriers and into the wall is the 42. He hit the curbing wrong, and it sent him right into the wall.
And that's all it takes, just a little bit too much curb. Through 5, upset the truck before he even got to turn 6 and hit the inside wall for the 42. his chances of getting a win here tonight, Sam, are done for as that 42 continues to fall through the field.
So he's now just trying to recoup, just take a little bit of assessment of what the truck is feeling right now. There is no required damage flag given yet to the 42 machine. But the way that he slammed into the wall, there could be potentially steering issues, a lot of different factors to watch out for, as seeing that of course Caddy under fire for Jonathan Casebeer. Casebeer needing a heroic run if he wants to find himself into the playoffs, so he's way too far back. This 8 machine needs to finish practically in the top 6 if he wants to go for a championship hopes. As a pass by Philip Chavez, Colsketti doesn't look like he's done and dusted just yet, but certainly spooked.
Yeah, it's certainly going to deal with some damage. He gets around Philip Chavez. That allows the 8 of Casebeer to try to make a pass on the 101. And he's going to have that damage to deal with, and not only the damage, but just the time that he lost. Now 21 seconds back of Cameron Sarton. I mean, he was doing a good job of closing up to the likes of Nick Holland, Travis Dart, and Chris Stitz and all those guys, but now 21 seconds back, and I think it's going to take a heck of a drive for that 42 to get back to maybe a top 5 here tonight.
Gonna be a tough one, as we are 18 laps in of 51, and the reason why it's a big issue to have a mistake at this point of the race, because there's no longer a stage yellow that we know is going to be thrown. We've already had our stage yellow that was thrown out. This is it. There will probably not be a full course yellow. It will have to be thrown, because it takes a lot to fully clog up this track to force a yellow. This is what the battle for the lead looks like. Cameron Sarton still searching for that first win, and he's got the fastest driver in the lobby right behind him.
Yeah, and looking at the lap time, Zach Hall 3/10 quicker the last time by than that 24 machine. And you know, I got to give Zach credit. He said he's going to do exactly what, or he's doing exactly what he said in the interview. Going to take it nice and easy to catch those guys. Already got around John Dart, I think, after the first lap after the stage there. Slowly closed in on this 24 machine, but starting in that clean air, look at the racing in that 24 machine. Not too much slower than than Zach Hall, but you know, doing a pretty good job of holding on. That time by again a little bit quicker for Zach, a 10th quicker as he continues to try to chase down the 24.
Trying to keep himself in a good position, as Zach Hall's not there just yet, but trying to run their own pace at this current moment. Let's do a quick rundown of what the point situation is looking like for drivers that are trying to run for a championship still. We came in tonight with 12 drivers trying to move on and make it to our Elite 8. Some were closer to a must-win scenario than others, but for this race here tonight, we've seen the drivers blast on by. A lot of shifting going on. Christopher Wade, Jonathan Woods, both out of this race and are most likely going to be knocked out. But Kyle Carpenter in the 77 and John Dart in the 99, or 2 drivers right below those other 2, expected to jump up and take those slots because of how well they're running.
Yeah, John Dart running in 3rd. I mean, having a really good run for himself is going to move up and move into the next round, and his Cinderella story of a season is going to be able to continue for himself. And then Kyle Carpenter, I mean, kind of the man who runs, you know, just outside the top 10 before the stage break, and then somehow finds himself in the top 10 up to the top 5, and at times we've seen him battling for wins or for a chance to win, is going to find himself moving on to the next round. And the next round, the first race, Atlanta Super Speedway, I mean, anything can happen there. We could see one of those 2 potentially lock themselves into the championship 4 just based off of that race alone.
I mean, this first round, a lot more of a technical round of who can stay stable at Las Vegas and at a road course like Indianapolis road course. The next round, the round of 8, I would say that's more of the wild card round than anything else. Like you said, we're going to that of the Atlanta new configuration of the Super Speedway, then Martinsville, both just wild card races. If anyone has a chance, you can absolutely destroy each other, or you can find yourself being the driver that's trying to pull away at all times.
Yeah, you go from the potential of a big wreck and calamity at Atlanta Super Speedway with the pack racing there to the short track beating and banging at Martinsville. And I mean, we've seen in leagues what Martinsville can provide. We've seen in real life the excitement that Martinsville can provide as a cutoff race. So that one's going to be definitely exciting once we get to that, to see who makes it to that championship 4 race in Phoenix.
As the Shrouders are about to meet the halfway marker, the Phoenix race going to be June 6th, as we will have a day off after Martinsville, as that will be Memorial Days, as some drivers struggling at this point. As we're looking, this train of drivers that are in line, Nick Holland want to bring up the 68. Main reason why, he has been having a great run, and drivers in front of him were having issues. They take it back though. 68 almost throwing it away there as he was going through that of turn 11.
Yeah, had a big wiggle there through 11 as ahead into 12 here. Gets to the inside of Medlin. Oh, the 21 of Tatum almost gets into Medlin, almost spins and gets hit by Chris Stitz, but they all keep it off of one another. Stitz going to have a little bit of the look to the inside of Medlin, not going to be able to get that position done, but these 4 drivers all on top of one another, and Nick Holland continues his march to the front. I mean, he's up to 6th, and if a driver in front of him makes a mistake, goes off track and falls behind him, I mean, Holland finds himself in the top 5. That could make things a little bit interesting here tonight.
Nick Holland was not able to get any stage points, but it doesn't mean he's out of this race just yet. What he needs is Kyle Carpenter to completely throw away his race. If Kyle Carpenter finishes all the way back in 16th or 15th position, there is still a chance for that of the 68 to make it into the playoffs. But based on where the drivers are running right now, it would be that of Christopher Wade, Jonathan Woods, Jonathan K-Spear, and Nick Holland not able to advance. Kyle Carpenter, John Dart, that of Cameron Sarton, Will Bustler, Chris Stitz, Ross Tatum, Zach Hall, and Ken Campbell would be our Elite 8. But we still have that of coming up to 30 laps to go when we still have a green flag pit stop to throw down, or plenty of mistakes. We've already seen just under our stage yellow that this could be very tricky with these drivers trying to make these pit stops.
It could be, like Zach talked about, can't be too far to the right on these pit stops, with the pit road being essentially you're going the wrong way down pit road, really easy to do, and just make a pit road error in general. The pit entry, kind of, you can see it right there, is that of Travis Dart, goes right by, goes off through the infield there. You get off into the grass, miss pit road, speed down pit road. I mean, anything's possible when you get to these green flag pit stops that could really hurt drivers like Nick Holland, Kyle Carpenter. Those guys, if any of them make a mistake, could hurt their chances at advancing.
Very much could be. As drivers trying to go through this track here at the Indianapolis Road Course. Thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday night for the Full Send Racing Series. We got plenty of other great racing action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting throughout the week. You've been seeing it pop up on the bottom board that's been showing off drivers and where to go, as we have our next broadcast going to be tomorrow night for the Wicked Racing League. It's their championship race, as all the leagues that we cover are currently under playoff conditions, and excited to see all the leagues that we cover, Trevor, in the middle of playoffs. It's exciting times to watch. Last night's playoff bonanza was crazy, watching drivers trying to make it in the Final Four, and I cannot wait for this next round to see that fight, to see who makes the Final Four for the Full Send Racing Series.
Yeah, last night's race was a great watch. Tuned into that one and got to watch all the fun there at the old configuration of Atlanta for the ISRC guys. Here tonight, Full Send drivers putting on a great show. Zach Hall able to get back by Cameron Sarton. And then the rest of the week, I mean, more playoff racing Wednesday night, Thursday night, Saturday night. I mean, just playoffs all throughout the week, and getting ready to start crowning some champions, Sam. And what a better time of the season than that.
And the two drivers that have won championships in this league still in the hunt. Cameron Sarton, who won season 1 and 2 championship. Ross Tatum, who won it last season. And right now, some of the favorite drivers, Zach Hall, still in the hunt as he's leading the way, wanting to get another win and a bonus point going into the next round. But this driver on screen, John Dart, what a story for himself. He got his first ever career win back at Auto Club after a crazy last lap of drivers running into one another, and it just opened up for the 99 to get to victory lane. But what a season he's had for a driver that's been here since season 1 and is making the playoff push that everyone tries to have.
Yeah, and just went about it really quietly after that win at Auto Club. You know, didn't really contend for another win, but just had solid runs to continue to build his confidence going into the playoffs. Had a solid run last week at Vegas, and here he is inside the top 3. Has a 6-second gap back to that of Ken Campbell in 4th, and only about 2 seconds or so off that of Cameron Sarton in front of him. So that 99 looking really strong. Is speaking of Campbell, he's got the other Dart, Travis Dart, right behind him in 5th, and Travis having a really good run for himself here at the Indianapolis Road Course, as well as he's looking for a way around Ken for 4th.
And Ken Campbell, winner from last week, but Travis Dart just missing out on the playoffs, as he was one of the major drivers. I was excited to see if he could just make the playoffs. He missed a race that put him in a bad spot, trying to point his way forward. But this 26 obviously has had some good, consistent runs throughout the season. I really think back to the middle portion of the regular season where he was just rattling off a lot of good finishes, a lot of great qualifying times. But currently right now, trying to find a way to get the 4th place position as drivers continue to strike their way through the ticker board. Again, the drivers that are in blue on the ticker board are those that are in the playoffs as Ken Campbell and Travis Dart continue to fight down here into turn number 1.
Yeah, heading down here into 1. Campbell with a little bit of a wiggle, trying to get back on the power to head into 2. And then through 3, Travis is trying to follow suit. It's going to be here out of 4 through 5 and 6 where the 26 might be able to get a little bit of momentum and gain a run here on Ken as they come out of 4 and then through the fast little chicane here 5, 6. And we've seen drivers have some mistakes getting over those curbs. Both of them get over it quickly. It looks like Ken with a little bit better of a drive off, and I don't think Travis is going to be close enough to maybe make a move down here into turn 7.
No, it doesn't look like he's close enough just yet, but it really is a setup portion of this track. Again, if you can't make the pass on turn 7, you just try to keep yourself close until turn 1, where you go for a shot. Or if you're going through this very much of a flowy and rhythm portion of the track, maybe you could see the driver make a mistake, go a little bit too wide, and there's the opening as Travis Dart's in a spot where the 15 seems to be on the entries, taking a much wider approach at every corner we go, which is kind of giving some false hope to Travis Dart right now. But here we go, roaring through turns 10, 11, and about to head into 12, where there's another chance for a pass, but oh boy, 12 goes wrong for the 26.
Yeah, just got in a little too hot there. Almost got into the back of the 15 to Campbell there, and instead of wiping them both out, does a really good job locking the brakes up and just having a little half slide there. Going to hurt the tires a little bit, lose some substantial time there to Ken, but both drivers get out of that with no damage and a heads-up move there from Travis not to wipe both of them out.
As drivers picking and choosing when is the best time to come into pit road. Again, we talked about the fact that they have 4 sets of tires to work with, and the stage was only 10 laps, and some drivers have already made their first pit stop under this green flag conditions. Jonathan K. Spear, Austin Call, but of this front group that we see on screen, a driver has dipped out. Ross Tatum has hit pit road.
Yeah, it might be that pit window time. Not sure what the fuel run was here for these guys, but this is going to put them at about a 25 lap run to the end. An interesting call though, because I mean it's only been about that of 14 laps from the stage break, so I wonder if they're going to turn this into a 2-stop, or if you pit here, you're just going to the end and see what happens.
Based on the way that we've seen some of these drivers racing on tires, I just cannot see how someone's going to take this one set from this point. You might be able to do it on fuel, but based off the tires, it's going to be a tricky spot. 21 leaves pit road. The racing on screen, not cooling off at all, as Nick Holland, he's been slipping and sliding the last 5 laps, but somehow is still defending over Andrew Medlin. At one moment, he was defending over Kyle Carpenter. It continues to look like a great race as we are now officially at the halfway marker.
Yeah, it's got Medlin giving chase. Carpenter's moved up a couple positions. He's up to 8th. Cole Sacchetti has caught up to these guys. So even after his spin at a turn number 5 and hitting that inside wall, that 42 machine still got a lot of pace in it as he's been able to catch up. Chris Stitt's kind of the one that's faded out of this group, as you can see. Not quite yet, but at the tail end of that group is just coming on the fresh runway there. The 17 really kind of struggling. He's got Sam Siegel, who I got to say, having a great run for himself, almost up into the top 10 is that 55 machine.
Sam Siegel's been trying to figure out how to cut this course in a lot of very close ends. He's had to yield a couple of times with 55, and based off of iRating, that's the number that you're given based on running officials. If you'd like to run those on competing with other drivers at the same skill level as you are, you're looking at the iRating. Sam Siegel actually has the highest road iRating of everyone in this lobby, meaning that he does run a little bit of road, but I think for this 55, it's more of just survive the night in this truck, as this has been a similar run, but this could be one of his best finishes of the season for the 55, who's currently in 11th.
Yeah, second biggest mover of the night for him as well, up 9 spots from where he qualified. I don't even think he put in the qualifying lap. He started that of 20th as he's able to get around the 17 of Chris Ditz to move him up 10 spots. He's up to 10th. That makes him almost tied with Nick Holland, who's up 12 spots from where he started. But Sam having a great run for himself, and if he continues at this pace, might be able to run down that of Kyle Carpenter and Cole Sikendi.
He might be able to. Sam Siegel's best finishes have been at Talladega, Michigan, and Kansas, where he got his 3 top 10 finishes, 6 at Talladega, then he finished 10th at Michigan and Kansas, hoping for another top 10 potentially here tonight as Sam Siegel runs 10th once again. As we're past halfway, we are going to step away for a quick moment. When we come back, more great racing here at the Indianapolis Road Course as the drivers, they've got still a lot of racing, still one more pit stop to go. We can't wait to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be back in just a few moments for more Full Send Racing Series.
The best, you got him for a rest. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
He's following, they're wrecking, they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my. 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, the wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall, gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron, drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside, trying to get the win, and it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall, the 18 trying to block. 77 get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
He went second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Pretty Fast Broadcasting on Tuesday night. Full Send Racing Series is presented by the Lap Traffic Podcast. If you want to go get yourself some great daily podcasts, go listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast. As well, ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing, and Next Level Racing. Thank you to the amazing sponsors for the Full Send Racing Series. As the drivers are now under some green flag conditions, stage break was only back at lap 10, where Zach Hall got the stage win. Some drivers, though, starting to figure out where they want to line up for pit stops. About half the field has already made their first pit stop that could take them to the end. Others try to split this stint in half, as we're expecting pit stops potentially here in the next 4 to 5 laps. As you've been watching the great battling back and forth for 6th, 7th, and 8th. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart and Trevor. Certainly we've been seeing some great racing, but the slipping and sliding has gotten a lot more aggressive recently. These guys got to be careful.
Yeah, the fact that Nick Holland's been able to hang on as long as he has been really impressive. I feel like he's drifting into every corner as he's been trying to defend from Andrew Medley and Kyle Carpenter. Chris Stitt's closing back in on this battle. Cole Sketty able to get around all of those guys and kind of has driven off into his own there. But this little battle between Nick Holland and all the way back to Medlin has been probably the best battling all night long, as there's still nose to tail coming through the chicane.
And Nick Holland continues to find his way as they go through the chicanes of 5 and 6 now, roaring down the back stretch, heading towards turn 7. And Kyle Carpenter, he's got to be careful. He's in a very good spot currently. We're doing more math on the points. We believe we got a pretty good idea on where all the drivers would line up on points wise. That everyone should be lined up good because of Christopher Wade and Jonathan Woods wrecking out before the stage was even done. It's enabled the fact of drivers such as Kyle Carpenter and John Dart to be in the good to make it to the end, as some of these drivers have been also. All they have to do is just have good runs. Cameron Sarton, another one of the drivers that should move on to our Elite 8. Ken Campbell, after his win last week, is locked in. Zach Hall, who's leading right now, looking for the bonus points for the next round of competition. And a lot of other drivers, Trevor, it just seems like it's more of survival than it is really challenging your competitors around you.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the case when we come to road course racing. It's, it's a love-hate relationship, and a lot of guys just want to get out here and get what they can and survive. Looks like Sam Siegel is going to be one of our first drivers inside the top 10 to come make a pit. Well, first couple of top 10 drivers can make a pit stop. Travis Dart and Ross Tatum already have done that. Siegel decided to make a pit stop, but drivers just having good runs. I mean, we know Cameron Sarton's pretty quick at road courses. Got a win last season at that of the Roval. Had a good run at Watkins Glen. We saw that Cole Sketty have a good one at Watkins Glen. Zach Hall had a great run. So I'm not surprised to see our top 5 the way that they are. I think the biggest surprise probably is that 99 of John Dart, based off of where he was at Watkins Glen up there in 3rd, though, here tonight.
Yeah, and the funny thing, you could maybe attribute that to just aggressive practicing by the 99. Has made it into the playoffs and has not been wanting to give up any type of points, as he's kept it very close with the other drivers that are at the cutoff line, which has enabled the 99 to be in a spot where he can really challenge to make it to the Elite 8 and continue on his Cinderella story. As Cameron Sarton, 2-time champ who won the first 2 championships, he's been on the complete other side of the coin, where he's been struggling just to find some consistency. But this 99, what a season it's been so far, and he does not want it to end here with just making it to the playoffs and only the round of 12. He wants to make it to the round of 8.
Yeah, Cameron, I would say has had a down season by his standards. I mean, hasn't gotten a win yet at all this season, and in the chances that he's had at getting wins, we've seen him kind of take himself out by making his own mistakes. Had a lot of speed last week in Vegas. Got into the back of Ross Tatum on the stage pit stops that took both of them out of contention after showing some great speed, and put him kind of in a bubble spot here tonight, having a great run up there in 2nd position. That's pretty much locked him into the next round.
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird watching some of these drivers and the ways that they've been flirting around different spots. But here's what last season's champion, Ross Tatum. Ross has been on a tear. I remember the beginning of the season, it was feeling like every single finish he was in 2nd or 3rd position. And then he went on a little bit of a dip, you could say, at Eldora, where he finished 4th. Oh, shocker, wasn't 1st or 3rd. I mean, he had a 2nd and 3rd. And then he went back finishing in 2nd. But it's been pretty much just podium finishes for Ross Tatum. He has been up front. He's got the most top 10s, most top 5s, and that of the 21 machine has been poised, but he hasn't been getting the wins, unlike the driver that's leading right now, Zach Hall, who's got that crown of the most wins.
Hey, it's not about most wins in the season. It's about being there. Zach has a little bit of a moment in turn 1, but keeps it straight as he gets around the 17 of Chris Stitz, who just made his pit stop. But it's not about the number of wins in the season. It's about getting to Phoenix, and then whoever finishes ahead of who at Phoenix can be crowned champion. And Ross Tatum, I mean, if he continues with this momentum, I wouldn't count him out when we get to that Phoenix race at the end of the season.
It's been a joy to watch this league. If you've never watched the Full Send Racing series in past seasons, this league is known for doing a back and forth. First season they were in the Xfinity car. Then season 2 they went into the trucks. Last season where Ross won his championship, it was in the Xfinity car, and this season back in the trucks. Drivers have to figure out the changes in both vehicles. And Trevor, I would say that there's a pretty big change in the dynamic of those vehicles, but the top drivers are always going to be up front, but it's great to see the talent on the fact that they can get used to the major differences.
Yeah, you go from a car that you have to actually drive in the Xfinity car, usually really tight, takes a lot of patience, a lot of off-throttle time to get that car around a racetrack pretty quickly, to the truck, which is really momentum-based, a lot of on-throttle time in these things, and if you don't carry the momentum out of corners, can really hurt you. So going back and forth between those, I mean, that's a major swing season to season, and the guys that can handle it, we've seen, you know, Cameron Sarton already winning 2 championships. Ross Tatum last season did a really great job getting a handle on that Xfinity car, getting his first championship. And then this season, having a great run for himself, but Zach Hall looks like he's mastered this truck here this season with the amount of wins that he's had and the performances that he's put on week in and week out.
Well, it's going to be the first big pack of drivers coming into pit road. It's second, third, and fourth. That's Cameron Sarton, John Dart, Ken Campbell hitting pit road. Joining them as well going to be Charles Hugel in the 30 machine, all getting service done. And you're going to be trying to get those pit stops done quickly, efficiently, and you don't want to be making mistakes. Some drivers have slid through the box already here under green flag pit stops. Very easy for these drivers to make these simple mistakes, as Cameron Sarton's hoping to get himself roaring and taking off. But the pit road, Trevor, it is so long. This is probably the longest pit road these drivers are driving down.
Yeah, it's almost the entire length of the front straightaway, and I think it's only at that of about 40 miles an hour is pit road speed. So, I mean, it is a long trip down pit road, really easy to try to cheat the system a little bit, carry a little bit more speed down pit road, and find yourself getting a pit road speeding penalty. But it looks like our top 5 there did a really good job getting on and off pit road with no penalties. I think Sam Siegel might have a pit road penalty in the 55, or maybe that's a slow down penalty for himself. I believe he's already made his pit stop, but those top 5 there, Sam did a really good job getting on and off, and now just leaves our leader Zach Hall to make his final pit stop of the race.
Yeah, so we're riding on board with Zach Hall. Let's take a lap around the track. Old tires, 23 lap old tires is what this 32 is racing around, and you saw how slipping and sliding he is on his own, and seeing drivers in front of him sliding. That's Austin Call, who already is coming to pit road back 12 laps ago. The 18 gets out of the way, as Zach, he's going to have a lot more issues behind him, but Trevor, these hands are working as he gets through turns 4, now heading through the fast chicane of 5 and 6, turns 5 and 6, onto the back stretch, and heading towards turn 7, and he's about to have some company as drivers with fresher tires are putting the pressure on our leader.
Yeah, he's got Austin Cole, Kyle Carpenter, Nick Holland behind him there on fresh tires. He gets slowed down. See the downshifts, nice little clip there of the curb as he gets the apex of 7, then through 8 here. You can just see as he gets through 9, you can just see how much he's having to work that wheel. Really smooth though through this little technical section of 7, 8, 9, and 10. But look at the oversteer there as he tries to get back on the throttle. Still working that wheel as that truck is still squirming all over the place, screaming for new tires.
It is wanting tires badly, but will Zach Hall take the tires? It's going to be right here in a turn 12 heartbreaking zone. You either go you go right and go straight, or you go left and you continue racing on. As Zach Hall, pit road, this is how narrow it is. You got to be precise on hitting your markers, as plenty of the field has already made this pit stop, but you can see how narrow it becomes, pushing the limits as you got to slow down to 40 miles per hour. And then it's the long crawl all the way down the front stretch as everyone else is blasting by on your left.
Yeah, and Zach's got the longest drive down pit road as he had the first pit stall, so he's going to be all the way at the end of it. But did a really good job there getting to pit road. Got it. Was really aggressive there. Got it slowed down to 40. But I mean, you can just see how slow he is here. He's about 3/4 of the way down to his pit box, and still has to go all the way to the end of the pit lane as drivers continue to go past him. But had a pretty good gap there to Cameron Sarton. So I think this 32 machine going to come out of this cycle still in the lead and be pretty safe. But it's right here. He said he was too far to the right the first time. Looks like he gets in his box perfectly fine this time, though.
Perfectly fine as Zach Hall, Cameron Sarton. The gap when Zach came into when Cameron Sarton came into pit road before Zach was around that of 4 seconds. And Cameron got to at least have 1 lap of fresh tires. How much will the gap be? As it is less than 4, less than 3, almost less than 1. As Cameron Sarton closes in on our leader, hoping to make the pass for the lead. And he is going to be right there on the back bumper, but not able to make the pass on Zach Hall. Hall times it perfectly. Now, with the fresher tires, he's going to try to pull away from the 24.
As Cameron Sarton's got warm tires, though Zach's on cold tires. This could be the advantage for the 24. At least for this outlap, for him to get around this 32 machine. But Zach's been so quick all night long that I don't think Cameron's going to have anything for him. But did a good job cutting down that gap between those two. But I think Zach's going to be in a good spot here as he's got him covered off going down into 7. See if he's able to get the power down here, though, out of 7 through 8 and 9 to keep ahead of this 24 machine. But looking good for the 32.
Ooh, the S's of 7, 8, 9 now coming up to turn 10. It'll get you onto the apron, sweeping right-hander that will take you into the more technical spot. Take it onto the one part of the track. The front straightaway is the only part of the Indianapolis actual oval course that you find yourself touching, except for a little touch here at the short chute, then right back into the course. A lot of this race in the infield, just showing how massive this track at Indianapolis is. So much infield to work with, and Trevor, this track, incredible. I'm so happy that iRacing got this track scanned, gave us the freshest Indianapolis we could have possibly asked for. And Zach Hall keeps the lead and now is pulling away.
It's such a great facility to see in iRacing. And if you have the chance to go to in person, a great facility to go to in person. The amount of stuff there at Indianapolis between the track, the museum. I mean, Sam, there's a not only is there a road course through the infield, there's a golf course in the infield as well at Indianapolis. I mean, this place is massive with all the activities you can do, and racing not being the only thing there to do.
No, it's wild when you look at the track from outside point of view and all the different stadiums you can fit in there. I think I looked at this one stat that said you could put in 4 or 5 football stadiums in the infield because of how large it is. And it's not even the most famous part. It's the oval that usually has the Indianapolis 500. They used to have the Brickyard 400 back in the day, and now is home of the road course here for stock car racing. As these drivers looping around, Zach Hall leads the way. The rest of the field should be good on not having to take it to pit road anymore. There's going to be a few drivers, though, questionable on tires to be good to take us to the end of this race. That will be Travis Dart, as well as Ross Tatum and Jonathan Casebeard. They might have to make an extra stop compared to the rest of the field because of how early they decided coming to pit road. But here's one of the best battles on track for position. It's 4th place. Travis Dart and Ken Campbell right on top of one another.
Yeah, they were battling before the pit stops, and now after the pit stops, still doing battle with one another. As Travis is trying to have to have a top 5 run here, but Campbell on the fresher tires in that 15 machine by about that of 8 laps. Trying to run down this 26 machine here as they come onto the front straightaway. He's going to have that draft down into turn 1, see if he can close the gap in on Travis and make a move down here into turn number 1.
How much of a closing rate will these drivers have, climbing up to speeds of 160 plus miles per hour, almost hitting 165 as they slam on the brakes to take this very tight corner where they go from 160 miles per hour down to 45 to make that corner. Just the short margin is 4th, 5th, and 6th position, all within that of 3 seconds of one another.
Yeah, Cole Sacchetti closing in on these guys, and I gotta say, with that damage that Cole sustained after getting into the wall after the mistake he made through 5 and 6, able to run these guys down. Almost, I think he was right up into the top 5 before pit stops, or got into the top 5 with pit stops, but closing in on this battle between that of Campbell and Travis Dardis. Here's Medlin doing battle with Nick Holland, and I believe that's Ross Tatum right in front of them. Or no, I'm sorry, that's Will Bustler back on track after getting some damage repaired. But these two were battling it out with one another before pit stops and still find themselves nose to tail after the pit stops.
Trying to figure out ways to find advantages. Two very different ways that you exited out of turn 6 to maximize your speed. As Andrew Medlin was going for the pass to the inside and will be able to make that pass as Travis Dart. They're not going to be keeping himself in front of the 42. We did get to see on screen there the rookie class on where they're driving. It has not been a good night for the rookies, as it is going to be the 18 of Austin Call that's leading the charge in that. But honestly, Trevor, you look at this rookie class, you got Austin Call, Jonathan Woods, as well as Jonathan Casebeard. This has not been a fun night for either three of those drivers, as it was Austin Call who had the best qualifying time for himself, qualified 9th, but it has been a rough day besides that.
Yeah, been a rough day for them. It's been kind of a up and down season for the rookies, especially those three. They've been the most consistent rookies, all season long. We saw Jonathan Woods get the first win of the season at Daytona at the Super Speedway. That of Casebeard got the win at Talladega to make it into the playoffs. And we've seen Austin Call show signs of speed. The consistency hasn't quite been there for those guys. We know they have speed, just the consistency not quite there. But it's going to be interesting to see if they stick around for next season, what they can do and the type of performances that they'll have.
Also saw there for a quick moment in the black truck. It was Will Bustler who had required damage, a blown engine, after contact between the 1 and the 53 earlier in the race. He's very much underpowered, but it's good to see Will Bustler back out there on track, at least gaining those small positions to make sure he doesn't have to worry about points. And we were looking at the points, Trevor, and Will is in a pretty solidified spot based off the numbers on where drivers are running currently and stage points. The 1 is in that of 8th in points currently where they're running, but the next driver that needs to catch up to him is Nick Holland, and Holland practically needs to win this race if he's going to beat out Will Bustler.
Yeah, Holland in that must-win situation and not looking good for Nick. I mean, he's having a great run for himself up 8 spots from where he qualified up into the top 10. Finally got passed there by Andrew Medlin, and it's kind of fallen back here a little bit. They were both able to get around that of Ross Tatum, but Nick needing to win as he has a little excursion through the grass there, but keeps it going in a straight line. Going to lose a little bit more time to Medlin and might lose this position to Ross. But, Holland, another one of those drivers that's kind of had an up and down season, had a really quiet start to the season, got the win at Pocono to get into the playoffs, and then just hasn't quite had the speed once we got into the playoffs or the luck for that 68 machine that I think he was wanting to have.
Yeah, well, gotta say that finish that we got to see, one of the most dramatic Pocono finishes you could ever ask for, and certainly a wild one. As these drivers, 10 laps to go, we are going to take our final commercial break of the night here at Indianapolis for the Full Send Racing Series. You're watching the playoff cutoff race for the round of 12 here for the Johnny Unitas 125 here at the Brickyard. Thank you for joining with us on your Tuesday night. We will be right back after this, and we'll take you to the end on who wins here at Indy.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
gasket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around, we're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As that's still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
They're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem. We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the 00. They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, 5 wide here. This ain't gonna work. This is it. They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through that of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, the wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line. Into the wall. The 18 trying to putt. 77 to get into the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is going to steal the win here. He went second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series. The Season 4 playoffs are now about to be finishing up the round of 12. We are 7 laps away from Zach Hall taking the crown, as we're not expecting any full course yellow to be thrown, as the drivers are pretty split from one another. It's a lot of lap cars and lead lap cars bickering with one another, as you see here. 5th place runner Ken Campbell having Austin Call getting by the 18 was the 15 machine. 7 laps to go, about to be hitting 6 here shortly. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. And Trevor, what a race we've had here tonight. It was a cutoff race, and the drama certainly kicked up in that first stage.
Yeah, it got really interesting there with that of Will Bustler, Jonathan Woods, Christopher Wade all having issues, and it's going to see the 53 and the 2 of Wade and Woods not make it to the round of 8. And also the drive from Kyle Carpenter to get stage points to get himself into the next round. The incredible drive from John Dart all night long to find himself moving on. And then just Will Bustler surviving, getting that required damage, getting back out on track is going to see him survive for at least another 2 races as they get prepped and ready for Atlanta and Martinsville.
Which, I mean, prepping for those tracks is an interesting word to use, because I don't know how you prep for either one. I assume you could prep for that of Martinsville, but that's the only one I could think of, because Talladega is going to be that of Atlanta, excuse me, Super Speedway is going to be a wild one.
Yeah, I think the prep for that one's more mental prep than actual on-track prep. You just got to be mentally ready for anything that could happen there in Atlanta. Covering runs and all that stuff. So that's going to be really a fun race to cover next week when we get there. But Martinsville, I mean, you put in a lot of practice. I think qualifying is going to be super important when we get to Martinsville track position. Also could be a race that we see a handful of cautions at with how tough it is to make passes there. And I wouldn't be at all surprised, Sam, when we get there to see some of these guys, especially drivers that are going to be outside the top 4 when we get to Martinsville, be aggressive and use bumpers to try to get passes done to get themselves locked into the championship race.
Who's willing to put down it all? Well, as you've been seeing, these trucks slipping and sliding here tonight, just trying to hold on. You want to see some other slipping and sliding? Well, watch out for our Gamer Outreach 600. June 10th, it's our second and final charity race of the year, as we will be taking the Gen 4 Cup cars, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, for 600 miles, 400 laps, as these drivers get to test the high horsepowers of the Gen 4 Cup cars, as we are so excited to give you the coverage. We already have 20 plus drivers signed up. If you'd like to be involved, either by that of sharing the event, donating to the event, or racing, as oh no, Austin Call, Travis Start gonna be with one another as they get moving along after that little bicker with one another. If you'd like to be involved, head on over to our community Discord or to that of the Tiltify.com link that's in the chat. Tiltify, you can just donate there if you'd like. As well, go to our community Discord channel if you'd like to be a racer or find ways to share the link. I mean, Trevor, a little scare on screen with the drivers, but excitement for the charity race.
Yeah, a really good job there from Travis getting around that, but you know, slipping and sliding, we saw it right there with Austin Call. You're going to see it in the charity race with the Gen 4 car, the high horsepower, low downforce around Charlotte. Transition race from day to night. It's going to be exciting to be a part of and to take part in, and for such a great cause as well. Definitely an event on June 10th that you're not going to want to miss, either taking part in or watching.
And if you'd like to be a part of it, it's so simple. Again, go to our community Discord and just have a minimum of a $5 donation to the Tiltify link. That will enable you to be able to race on that of June 10th. Gen 4 Cup cars, full-length race at Charlotte. Going to be a long one. A lot of slipping and sliding. Like we've been seeing here tonight, drivers wear and tear on the tires. For some, they've been out there for 20 laps on these tires. Others for 12 to minimum of 10. And right now, we're seeing a lot of them just in survival mode, like we've been saying for the most of the night. But 5 laps to go. Trevor, it's the fact of fatigue, I think, at this point. We talked about the fact that you had to worry about so many different factors here tonight physically to get through this race. And we're now in the final push.
Yeah, I mean, they've been going at it now for almost that of 46 laps, coming to 47 laps. They've been out on track. I mean, 14 corners, it's a lot of braking, a lot of downshifting, a lot of fighting with the steering wheel all night long, trying to get this truck around this racetrack. And I'm sure these guys are going to be pretty worn out after this race. I'm sure when we get to interviews, I'm sure a couple of them are going to say that. But, I mean, they've still got 4 laps to go, so the strain's still going to be there. It's just about fighting through that and getting to the end of this race in one piece.
And a couple of drivers having some little late scares here tonight. Ross Tatum going off track for a quick moment as he wanted to test out how bad the dirt tracks are on course, but the 21 will stay on track. Here's the 101 of Philip Chavez, and as well others on track. We haven't really gotten to talk about them much. Are some of these drivers that are a lap down. Here's the 30 machine, Charles Hugel. Charles qualified in that 19th position as he's getting by Jonathan K-Spear, who's just been struggling here tonight in the 8. But that of Charles Hugel, he has been looking very more confident, I would say, at the ovals these last couple of weeks. It's been a pleasure to watch his growth as a driver here in the Full Send Racing Series. And 4 laps to go. He's just hoping for this race to get over with and get a shot to race at Atlanta next week.
Yeah, still not having a bad run. I mean, up 5 spots from where he qualified. Yeah, a couple of guys have had issues, but I think I've only seen Charles off track once or twice, which isn't bad. You know, considering that we're at a road course, but just having a quiet run inside the top 15 for himself, and potentially could get Austin Call here if Austin continues to kind of struggle with his tire wear that we've seen. But a nice little quiet run for Charles, and I'm right there with you, excited to see what he can bring next week in Atlanta.
These drivers trying to close in on one another on some of these battles. Closest for position is for 10th place, as that's going to be Nick Holland and Sam Siegel, as they've got Philip Chavez in between them. But Nick Holland's got to be careful here, because any type of slip up will allow the 55 to try to go for another 10th place finish, which I believe that would be his 3rd or 4th. We did a quick rundown on some of his better finishes of the season, and it's crazy to see some of the leagues and drivers just getting fixated on finishing in the same spots over and over again in a season. Zach Hall going a little bit of grass cutting for himself, as he's just been flying out here tonight as he gets by Jonathan K-Spear, who's mowing the grass as well. But, you know, the fact that drivers seem to finish in the same area week in and week out, for some drivers, they get irritated by that, but Trevor, it just shows that consistency that drivers have.
Yeah, and for drivers like, Sam Siegel and Charles Hugel, I mean, that's a good growth from them, getting, consistent top 10s, top 15s, considering where we've seen them run in the past. And it just goes to show you that the growth that these drivers put in, week week out, the work they put in week in and week out is paying off. And I'm sure at some point they'll get frustrated, but I bet if we were to talk to Sam after the race, he'd be really happy to come out of here with an 11th or possibly a top 10 finish.
Better than where you started. You could take that away. Zach Hall marks it 2 laps to go here tonight. The start of lap 50 of 51. The 32 machine of Zach Hall. He had opportunities last week at Las Vegas to try to challenge and beat out his teammate Ken Campbell. Said, you know what? Let's work as a team. Let's help out one another, as he wanted to focus more on helping out Ken Campbell. And so the 32 had the knowledge he could dominate here at Indy, and that's exactly what he's done, with almost 14 seconds ahead of second place.
Yeah, I'm sure last week in their team chat was like, hey, don't worry about next week. I know I'm going to be quick. Let's get you locked in. Let's make sure we get both trucks locked into the next round. And it's exactly what they did. And we've seen that team work together, great all season long, whether it be at the super speedways or it be, Ken and Andrew trying to get Andrew into victory lane when they had that. And then last week getting the 1-2-3 finish for themselves. Zach comes into the last couple of corners here before he gets the white flag, and what has been a dominant run. I think he's led, even with green flag pit stop, Sam, every lap of the race. Oh, no, he got past at the stage break, but led almost every lap of this race tonight.
Yeah, it's been only, 2 or 3 laps he hasn't led, and this 32 machine has been looking dominant. As he crosses the line, it's your Freaky Fast Broadcasting white flag out in the air. If you'd like to sponsor the white flag, hit us up on our social medias on Freaky Fast Broadcasting on Facebook or Twitter. As Zach Hall into turn 1, he's just got to get by Charles Hugel, and then the track is clean for himself to finish out the rest of this lap. As Zach Hall, the most dominant driver of the night, and he is now in just cruise control to take it to the end.
Yeah, 12 more corners to go, 2.4 miles for Zach Hall to navigate around here. Doesn't have to be aggressive through any corners. Got a almost 15-second lead back to Cameron Sarton, so just doesn't need to make any egregious mistakes here as he heads down the back straightaway to turn number 7, and got this one locked up into the next round. I mean, it was pretty much guaranteed into the next round based off his points, but going to get the win here tonight and set himself up really well for Atlanta and Martinsville in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, all Zach had to do was make sure that he got some stage points, and he was automatically locked into the next round, and the 32 did just that. Now going through turns 11 and heading into turn 12, heartbreaking zone as he hits the short chute, sees a puff of smoke that's from Philip Chavez in front of him, but into turn 12, 13, and 14 before he hits the front stretch. Zach Hall, the most winningest driver this season. Coming into tonight, he had 4 wins, but after tonight's adventures, give him win number 5 and lock the 32 into the next round of the playoffs. Zach Hall wins here at Indy.
Gets the win here tonight. Dominating performance from that 32 of Zach Hall, and breaks the streak of 8 races between each win. I'm sure he's going to be happy about that one as he gets ready for Atlanta next week. Cameron Sarton's going to come home second in that 24 machine. John Dart in third. What a great run for both of those drivers, Sam, and what a race here tonight. Dominating performance from our top 3. Cole Sketty able to recover as well for himself, and then great battling throughout the rest of the field here tonight.
Yeah, it was incredible to see some of the battles that were going on track. Drivers taking it easy, others caught up in some messes, but overall, a fantastic race here at Indianapolis. 51 laps in, Zach Hall with the win. And unofficially, we expect that of Christopher Wade, Jonathan Woods to be knocked out of the playoffs, and joining them going to be Jonathan Casebeer, Nick Holland. As moving up should be that of Kyle Carpenter and John Dart, but again, we'll wait for official confirmation later on, as we are going to step away. When we come back, we are going to give you that of the post-race show. We're going to talk to our top 3 and as well a spotlight driver to get their thoughts on tonight's race, Zach Hall gets to find himself still going around the track, but once he gets to the front stretch, he's going to burn it down. So once he does, enjoy the smoke show as we take a small break to get our post-show ready. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show, as we are going to be heading to Victory Lane to talk to Zach Hall and get his thoughts on tonight's race. It was a crazy one overall, but it's going to be the 32 gets to Victory Lane. Zach, congratulations on the win. I mean, after the stage, you did exactly what you were bringing up. Stay patient, get up front, and get it done, and that's exactly what you did in a dominant fashion. How are you feeling after this one?
That one felt great. I'm real happy after that. I don't know what it is about Indy, but something, either the oval, the road course, this place just clicks for me. Especially when I feel like that. I don't know. I just never felt out of control. I mean, I did have some moments out there for sure, and especially when those tires got old, they were very tough. But man, that was one of the best races I've executed in a while on a road course, and definitely had to like figure it out because I'm just so used to next gen and not having to worry about tire wear and just sending it everywhere. And I think I got back into my rhythm of back in the day where I was able to really make the tires work very well. And I'm really happy to pull this one off. And I had to do this for Trevor, so I had to get that W.
I was gonna ask you about that. So the statistic, 8 races between wins, you finally break that. You were pretty much locked into the next round, but you get the win here tonight. Atlanta, Martinsville for the next round. How are you feeling going into those 2 races, especially now that you've got that proverbial monkey off your back with the 8 race winless streak?
Yeah, that was good to get going for sure. I had to definitely let you know that. You motivated me, so I appreciate that a little bit of motivation trying to make me go that much harder to get that victory. But clean, solid first round here with a second place finish at Las Vegas and a first place here tonight. But the next round's real scary, man. I mean, I wanted to get as many bonus points here tonight as possible to carry into that round because of the 2 tracks coming up. So Atlanta, I mean, that's going to be a teamwork aspect game. I got to go get some decent practice there because never drove the truck at that track with the super speedway version of it. So I'm a little bit curious to see how it works. I feel like I can do a pretty good job there, even though it's still pretty much a super speedway. I feel like it does take a little bit of driving skill to manage your tires and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to do that good. But I feel confident going into Martinsville. I mean, anything can happen there for sure. I mean, I think I won the race there last season, so I feel confident anytime going there, man. But just going to go into that next round with the mindset to try to win everything because that's what's going to get you to Phoenix.
Pretty good mindset to have, Zach. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Well, first off, shout out to you guys up in the booth. Y'all always do an amazing job in each and every broadcast y'all do here at Freaky Fast. And also shout out to my wonderful teammates of Andrew Medlin and Ken Campbell. Those 2 guys are amazing. They always motivate me and tell me I got it. Even when, you have a bad pit stop or something happen like that, they're like, oh, just you'll get right back into it, man. You got this. You got the pace. And so I gotta appreciate them a lot and all they do as a team for Freaky Fast Racing. And then last but not least, shout out to all the drivers and all the sponsors here at Full Send Racing because one of the best leagues, like as I always say, out there to race in. If you're looking for something to do on Tuesday nights, make sure you come join us next season for those Xfinity cars.
Well, that is going to be the 32 machine of Zach Hall. Congratulations on this win and good luck heading into the next round.
Thanks, guys.
Well, from victory lane, let's head to second place to talk to that of Cameron Sarton, the 2-time champ, trying to go for his 3rd championship this season. And with a great performance like that, Cameron is confirmed to be moving on to the next round. Cam, it's Sam and Trevor up at the booth. You come away with second place, got to lead a couple of laps, but man, how are you feeling after this one?
Well, I feel great. I haven't been up here in the booth in about 4 months, so it feels like. But finally, a solid run in which I deserved. No mistakes on my part. No just unluckiness. Put some 4-leaf clovers on the truck just to see if I get some luck on my side, and finally got some. So very happy. I had nothing for Zach all night. That guy was in a different zip code. So hung with him when I could there, tried to learn, and just couldn't keep up. But solid race. Just a couple of baby mistakes here and there, but long road course race, nothing to complain about.
I mean, Cameron, trying to build a little bit of momentum going into the next round with kind of how crazy those 2 tracks are going to be with Atlanta and Martinsville. I mean, we noted on it in the broadcast, you mentioned it, the kind of the mistakes that you've had, either self-inflicted or bad luck throughout the season. I mean, how are you feeling going into that next round, especially after the second place here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. I feel like I've been kind of in that top 3 fastest trucks week in and week out. It just hasn't replicated into the race just because of unfortunate events. I felt really good last week and then, didn't face through Ross because he missed his pit box on pit road. Like, nothing I can do. And it's just kind of how the season's gone for myself. But sometimes it's those weird seasons that end up pretty good. So we'll kind of keep on trucking here, and hopefully we can snatch a win. I feel like I'm due. Just keep on grinding, and step 1 was going next round, so 1 complete, and we'll move on forward.
Oh, Cameron, I know from our point of view, it does seem like you're due a win as well. Still weird that you haven't got one this season, but there's plenty still opportunities left. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, shout out to the mom, dad, grandparents watching at home. Haven't said that in a while. You guys up in the booth, calling the races. Haven't talked to y'all in a while, but they've been entertaining to watch for sure. On the replay because I feel like I've been out halfway through them. Travis, we're hosting the league here. All the guys in playoffs and Ghost Racing. John right behind me with double podium for us. Sam had a really good run as well, so a little momentum for the team as well going next round. Also, John made the round of 8 for the first time ever. So hopefully we can put 2 of us in the final 4 and we'll go get them.
That'd be an incredible storyline to talk about, Cameron. Congratulations again for second place here tonight and making it to the round of 8. Good luck in the next round.
Thanks, boys.
Well, from second place, let's get a third place. Cameron Starr was talking about John Dart. Well, that's the driver that finished in third. A driver that started in this race, was outside looking in, but got the positioning, got stage points, and finished where it was necessary to move on to the next round. John Dart, congratulations. You have officially made it to the Elite 8. You're going to be still in the hunt for a championship and finishing third here tonight. Man, how are you feeling after this one?
Feeling pretty solid for the amount of work I put into this race.
I mean, John, how much preparation went into this race for you here tonight? I mean, came in, had speed at Watkins Glen, didn't get a top 10, but tonight, I mean, qualified really well, ran up in the top 5, top 3 pretty much all night long. How much time did you put into this race to move on to the next round?
A lot of the practice started when the official races were at COTA, so I got a lot of time in doing all the technical slow sections just like they have here. And then I think every day of this week I did a full stint AI race, so driving from the back really allowed me to try and save my tires and find ways to pass, but didn't really have to do much passing, just had to hold my position and maintain it. Just try to keep a clean truck throughout here.
Well, you did just that. You did enough to move on to the next round. This next round, though, hearing from drivers, a lot of them are in fear. You got that of the Atlanta Superspeedway and as well Martinsville. What's your confidence level heading into those races? And do you feel like there's any way for you to prep for those racetracks?
No, it's next round is definitely a wild card races. Not much preparation. We'll probably go into it and just got to hope I survive both races and see where I end up.
Well, John, we're excited to see how well you're going to perform. We're excited that you finally have made it to the Elite 8. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
So I'd just like to say congrats to Zach winning the race and his team sweeping the first round. Shout out to my team. We got, I think, Cam got second. I got third. And shout out to Charles and Sam, who was also on the team, my girlfriend, and then you guys up in the booth putting the show on every week.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to cover. That's going to be the 99 of John Dart. Congratulations on making it to the next round and getting a third place finish here tonight. And good luck at that of Atlanta next week.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, John. As we go from third place finisher, we're going to drop down, and we've heard about the teammates of that of Cameron Sarton and John Dart cheering on Charles and Sam. Well, let's talk to Sam Siegel, get his thoughts on tonight's race as another great run. Our biggest mover of the night is the 55. Sam, it's Sam and Trevor up in the booth. How are you feeling after an 11th place finish here tonight?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, we made big gains tonight, and unfortunately the tires were really bad, so 11's not too bad.
I mean, Sam, you're building a little bit of momentum here the last couple of races, had some good runs. 3 races left in the season with Atlanta, Martinsville, and Phoenix. Not in the playoffs, but a potential chance to maybe play spoiler. I mean, how are you feeling about these last 3 races of the season?
Yeah, I mean, big opportunities next week to maybe go steal one. Unfortunately, we're not in the playoffs, but try and build some momentum for next season.
Very excited for next season. Sam, you talked about the tires and how much they were kind of hard here tonight. Was there anything else that was pretty difficult throughout tonight's race to help you out here?
Nothing else besides the tires.
Well, it was still an incredible performance. Again, congratulations on becoming our biggest mover of the night. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my mom, dad, my sister, the rest of the family watching, and a big shout out to you guys for the amazing broadcast.
Well, thank you very much, as that is going to be the 55 machine of Sam Siegel. Comes away with 11th place finish, but keep your eyes out. How will he perform next week? We have to wait and see. Sam, good luck at Atlanta next week.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, from our interviews, let's head on over to the drivers that are where they finished here this evening. Unofficially, these drivers all getting some pretty good finishes for the majority of them. And some playoff contenders not happy. We have been given official confirmation on who's in and who's out for the playoffs. Zach Hall is moving on. Ken Campbell, Ross Tatum, Chris Stitz, Will Bustler, Cameron Sarton, as well as Kyle Carpenter and John Dart will advance to the round of 8. Not going to be moving on is Jonathan Woods, Jonathan Casepier, Nick Holland, and as well Christopher Wade. Those drivers did not get the finishes that they wanted, but here's the unofficial results of tonight's race, the last race of the round of 12. Zach Hall getting his win and breaking the curse that he's had of only winning, and once he stops winning, takes him 8 races to get the win done. Well, might have to relook at that pattern as he gets the win here tonight. Cameron Sarton gets second. John Dart gets third. Cole Sacchetti moves up to 4th after having a lot of woes and wrecks in the middle of this race, able to salvage a 4th place. Ken Campbell gets 5th. Travis Dart 6th. 7th goes to Kyle Carpenter. Chris Ditz 8th. 9th goes to Andrew Medlin. Finishing out the top 10 is Nick Holland.
Yeah, and then just talked to him, Sam Siegel down there in 11th. Ross Tatum comes home 12th. And you got to look further on down. I mean, Jonathan Casepier with issues all night long in 16th. He's going to miss out on the next round. Will Bustler barely survives to go to the next round, as he'll finish in 17th. And then Wade and Christopher Wade, Jonathan Woods down there in 18th and 20th, respectively, after some blown engine issues for the both of them. Miss out on the round of 8. But Sam, we're set. 8 drivers into the next round at Atlanta, Martinsville. Then we reset with 4 drivers for the championship race at Phoenix. I mean, these next 2 weeks, especially next week in Atlanta, it's going to be wild and crazy racing.
Yeah, usually you see the wild card round be the first round, but they are turning it into the cutoff race to see who's right for a championship at Phoenix in 3 weeks, as Atlanta and as well Martinsville going to be 2 very much unknowns. You just heard it from 2 of the fastest drivers in this league and a past champion. Unsure of what these next 2 races are going to give us, but I just know it's going to be great racing like we saw here tonight. Thank you once again for joining with us for the Full Send Racing Series on Tuesday night. We got more racing coverage throughout the week. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, it's the Wicked Racing League, the last race of the season. Who wins the championship? 4 drivers are set up as they're going to be heading off to Kansas. Then on Thursday night, it's that of the Stars and Stripes Throwback Series. They're in the middle of their playoff action. Want to see some ARCA cars racing around? Well, that's your destination on Thursday night. Next Gen Racing cars, though, going to be on Saturday for the WSSR Rosa Gens Cup Series. Then on Monday, it's time to see some more championship racing. Who wins the championship for the ISRC Truck Series? Monday night gives you that coverage, and then we're right back here. Next Tuesday, it's the start of the round of 8. Trevor, exciting times, and man, I cannot wait for all these championship races.
Now, next tomorrow night, crowning a champion. Then you got the playoff races Thursday and Saturday. More playoff racing Monday night, and then back here Tuesday night. It's going to be a great week. Cannot wait to tune in and definitely watch tomorrow and Thursday, and then be back in the booth with you Saturday night.
Can't wait for it. This is your last week of full racing action until the summertime, the swing of off season. So remember, check in on all the races as championship races are all around. Thank you for joining with us. My name is Sam Dyer. With me was Trevor Earhart, and as well, Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. And for everyone else at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us here tonight for the Full Send Racing Series. We will see you tomorrow night, the championship race for the Wicked Racing League, as that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.